So everyone, welcome today on this special interview with Jane Anyango from Nairobi, Kenya. I just pushed the record button and I just want to be sure that you agree that we record this session and that we upload it later on the internet. Yeah, on YouTube.
It's okay.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome. For those who don't know me, my name is Ingun Bol and I'm the founder and president of Female Wave of Change. And this morning I was just reflecting on where we met Jane and how that happened, because it's 10 years ago. And we met at a conference actually in Los Angeles. So here we are now, the Netherlands and Nairobi, Kenya. And we met at this conference in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And actually there you were introduced to this young woman from the slums of Nairobi. And you were very timid. And it was, you know, and now after 10 years, look at who is sitting there, this woman who is traveling the world and, you know, sharing her story and sharing sharing the stories of the women, of course, on all global stages. So just start by introducing yourself. Who are you?
Thanks so much, Ingun. So my name is Jane Anyango. I live and work in Kibera slums, which is in Nairobi, Kenya. I work with women and girls. So when I started my work, it was about fighting violence and manipulation against adolescent girls. I grew to start working with women and programs around peace and conflict mitigation. And, you know, it has expanded and expanded and expanded. So right now I work with women in different slum settlements. I'm also present in around 7 counties where women, you know, they call us to work with them to replicate whatever we are doing with them. I also speak in different platforms locally and globally. And it's still about connecting communities, bringing the voices of women living in the communities to global platforms and still bringing global conversations into various communities. So yes, I have a lot of recognitions. I've met wonderful women like Ingun and others. I have several awards. And I'm also a mother to 4 wonderful children, 4 boys and two boys and 2 girls. Unfortunately, I'm also a widow. I lost my husband 2 years ago. So I work here and I'm just happy that I'm part of this conversation.
Good, yes, a lot did happen, yeah. I know you are the founder of Polycom Development. Yeah, can you share a little bit more about what that organization is doing?
So Polycom was founded by a few women, of course I'm the lead person, who are trying to fight manipulation and violence against adolescent girls, where men would coerce young girls to go into sexual relationships with them. So we decided to take our time and listen to the girls and make the girls understand that their bodies are precious and they don't just let people take advantage of them. So I started by bringing a few girls in our neighborhood together to be able to share their stories together. And then we grew to start working with schools, reaching adolescent girls through schools. And yes, right now we're present in 50 schools, and we have several young women who work to mentor these adolescent girls. We call them mentors. And we also call them, of late we branded them as Beijing plus 25 queens, because all of them were born after Beijing. So it's about older girls mentoring adolescent girls. And as I said before, is that I also work with the women. And with the women, I started my work in 2008 when Kenya was into the post-election violence. So there was this young girl, one of my many girls, the girls I mentor, who was killed by a police bullet. So I organized the women to hold a protest. And when they came out, it was the most beautiful thing I ever saw, because women forgot that they were from different tribes. And they just came together for this little girl. They even forgot that this little girl also came from a tribe that they were supposed to hate, because we are so much divided along tribal lines. So it was like, okay, if we can unite like this, then let's keep it together. So that is how I started working with women and have never stopped. So we are just, we are mapping all the challenges that women are facing in their various lives. We put them together, we package them into information that we can share with the different stakeholders and different organizations that can be interested in working, bettering the lives of women living in the slums.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also working in the rural area right now. So mostly my work comes very naturally. And so I was locked down in the village. But initially, I'd identified a problem in the village. That is where I'm originally from. That is where my husband is originally from. So when I finally got to his village, when he died, I noticed that there's quarrying. There's the digging of the construction stones. So women are badly affected by this. So people just come in and mine, do this mining in their land without asking them. And at the end of the day, women have no land completely. So I decided to do this mapping, like what the women feel about it, the status of these women who are part of this mining process, who are definitely in terrible poverty. And out of that, we are able to have a good conversation with the county government down there. So I'm not just in Nairobi now, I'm in other counties, and I'm also in the rural area.
Yeah, you're doing really great work.
And
And 2 years ago, when I was joining you in Nairobi for the Female Wave of Change launch in Kenya, I had the opportunity to meet some of these women and girls, and I went to the Polycom, your office. I went there.
I am right now.
Yeah, and I enjoyed these women and girls being so. Of course, they're very vulnerable, but they're also very. How can I say that? They're so dedicated, and they're happy. There are smiles, there is singing, there is this community feeling that I very much miss here in Europe. But is it because you really feel that you need each other, that is the place where you can be your authentic self and where you can share your issues?
Yeah, what is interesting about slum life is that, we depend on people 100%. And that is why we're really challenged with this COVID conversation, because we are all over. When the COVID conversation came, I decided to close the office. So we would go home. So I decided to go to the village, which is less, it's more, there's less pressure in the village. So I decided to go to the village, and I'm told the office was only closed for 3 days. And the girls were back. They opened the office and they were like, what, we are going to be here. If the door of the building is closed, then we're going to stay in this compound, because this is our space. This is the only space where we feel happy. So yes, in the community, it's a place full of life. It's a place where everyone is happy. I know people ask this question so many times that, these people are living so much in poverty, but they're so happy. Yeah. So what I say is that it's not, okay, they live in poverty, but they're not poor, They're rich with so many other things, and they give themselves the best they have, So you have people whose best are that very nice food, but theirs could be the lowest, but they have it with love and satisfaction, because they know that this is what we have for ourselves. So yes, it is a place where there's a lot, it's full of life. And so much to learn.
Yeah, what I also learned from this story, and that is really fantastic, is that actually you left that area, where you were spending the time at the village, but they didn't actually need you as a leader to come there. This proves that you as a leader has also educated them, you've trained them, you've uplifted them to take your place the minute you're not there. They knew they needed to be there. So whether you were there or not, they were there.
Yeah, they achieved so much in my absence, and I was shocked. You know, they reorganized everything. They organized out their big pen, and then I was like, maybe I'm occupying their space. Maybe my presence is limiting them from using their own energy. And they were able to make a lot of networks. You know, they started distributing food stuff. They were able to approach the administration after an unfortunate situation that took place in Kibera, where some politicians brought food and there was stampede. People fought over the food, and two women lost their lives, unfortunately. So they stepped in and went and talked to the administration. They say, you know what, the vulnerable groups can get food from us. And they did it in a very organized manner. Like people would come in, there's a hand washing station, and they would observe the 1 meter spacing and give food without any problems. So they did so much in my absence, and I'm so proud of these girls. They just achieved so much.
Yeah. And it proves that you're a good leader. I always say, you know, I love to reach out to find that moment that you can just sit at the back of the room and see that everything is going well, and that you feel like, okay, I started this, but they don't need me anymore. Well, of course you want to be there, but actually it is already happening. Okay, so one of the things you really wanted to talk about is, of course, the whole situation that we've ended up in because of COVID-19, and that you feel, especially these women, are the heroes of this time. Can you share a little bit more about why you feel that they are the heroes?
Yeah, this is something that is very passionate for me. The community woman is you know, most of the work that they do, nobody's paying them for that, and mostly they do them with their own resources, and nobody celebrates them. Like right now, my community, Kibera, has been listed as one of those, is it high-risk areas? So many people don't really give Kibera people work. You know, they are the manual laborers everywhere around, but somehow people don't want them in because people fear that maybe they could be infected and can infect them as well with COVID. But here we are, we have the women who are ensuring that their children eat. We have women walking everywhere. Like there's a small garden within this office compound. You see how dedicated these women are, ensuring that the vegetable there is well kept so that they are able to take care of themselves. And then you see the way they are taking care of children. Children are out of school, and they've organized themselves to look at children beyond their own children, just to ensure that the children are okay, because we have people who are taking advantage of the children as right now that they are out of school. So these women are just they're doing the things that are almost impossible just to make sure that things are okay. But there's so much uncelebrated because nobody has. Like right now, we have cleaning going on in the community. The women take their time to make sure that their neighbors, people are keeping themselves busy. And they're also trying to do this for recognition purposes, like for them to be recognized by different stakeholders so that they're also able to get the food rations. So to me, that is just, you know, out of this world. Can I say that? Because they are using what they can, you know, what they have right where they are to bring the change that they want to see. To me, that is very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's something that's it's not only seen in your country and in your community, but you see it worldwide, that women step in and that they really act. Stop talking, start acting, and that is, yeah, very important.
Yeah, I've seen places where women are cooking. They're actually cooking food and taking to different communities. I've just seen so much. And you look well, if we're able to map well, then if you look at the physical work, then the women are doing it best. We have a community in Kenya, we call it the Turkana community. So they're very indigenous, so they're still living their very natural lives. And there's a lot of poverty in that area. So we always have the government organized for food and just relief for them. And then recently a woman stepped in, and what was interesting about this woman's intervention is like she went with firewood and big pans and food to cook fast. And the way she reasoned is that, you know what, you cannot take dry food to someone who has nothing. Meaning this person may even start eating the food before the food is well cooked. And that is just, it will be more harm than good. So because a woman, the woman thinks the way she lives in her normal life. So a woman felt that, you know what, let's go, cook, give food, and leave dry food for them. With this, at least they can cook happily and make good food to be able to eat. So the way women think, the way women think differently, and giving women the space, identifying or just being able to see what women are doing, to me is just the best we can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so amazing that, in a community like this, that, you don't have a lot, but even what you have, you give. That's where it starts. And you share.
Yeah. Yeah, that is how life is in this community. You cannot lead your life alone. I always say that in the slums, we share everything. People share the roof. I mean, if a neighbor's child is not able to sleep, then you can't sleep either. So meaning if they don't eat, then you also cannot have your peace. So the best one can do is that the little you have, just make sure that you're able to share and people are living peacefully. And that is why I said before that in these communities, we depend on people 100%. We cannot live without people. And that is very, very important. Yeah, so yes, the women, they don't really have much, but the little they have, they must share for them to be able to move on. They need each other. They can't walk alone. They must just walk with others.
And it's still, and that is what I like with you, there's still that big smile. It is what it is. and this is how we do it. That's very strong. Yeah, there's, so many people all over the world that if we just start listening to these stories, live, the world would look totally different.
Yeah, it's always very interesting when someone comes in and, they even look at people in Kibera and some start crying and you're like, hey, these are people leading their lives, what they're giving themselves at their best, and they're doing their best to provide for their children. People work hard in these communities. People start working as early as when they can see light. And they go to bed as late as when the people start passing where they're selling to be able to sell to them. So they don't use the timings. They use all they have just to make sure that things are all right for them. And mostly these are the women, The women work far much more than the men in this community.
Mm-hmm. How come?
How come? How come is that a woman will use anything that is in front of her. A woman will use that small tin if there is no big jerrycan to go and fetch water. A woman will pick all those small tins and then just clean them and go and get water. When there's no maize, there's no corn completely, a woman can go near a pottery mill and pick those small seeds and just put them together and organize them to be able to get flour for her children. So women must do something. And I'll go now like our feminine nature, a woman, let me say in her woman days, she will make sure she's safe, whether they are pads or not. So I think our organizing just comes automatically. We have no option, we just have no option.
You don't have a choice, yeah. There was something I have been talking about, because 2 years ago I was invited to some of the young women network events and talking to these young women, and they were so strong, everything that they have been doing and what they were sharing. And life wasn't easy, but they showed us that they were just, moving forward. They were just driving change. And that was one of the questions I asked them at that time. I said, I see so many women here that are so strong and that are, you know, uplifting each other and supporting each other. What is happening to the man? You know, the difference is probably getting bigger and bigger. So how are they going to, how do you get these men involved in all the challenges that you're facing?
Yeah, we are trying. We are trying. You know, there are our men, there are our husbands, there are our brothers, there are all those close names to us. So we try as much as possible to involve them. One time we started a program where we would organize women to start businesses and engage their men in running the businesses. And some worked very well. But at times, you know, we have that African notion of a woman cannot the man is the head and a woman cannot control me. So at times it is very, very tough with women who still have that, men who still have that mentality. But we try as much as possible to look at that positive approach where people can be able to work together. Because the truth is, as much as some of them are lazy and are not able to help, the women cannot do without them either. So the best thing is just to try to organize so that we are able to walk step by step. Because if they leave, also if we are left with all these problems, you know, if we are left like he is there, he is not going anywhere, and he is not also helping, then it is more headache than to try to harmoniously talk to them and be able to involve them in the programs. I know we have this thing in our communities, we call it the chama. Chama is a space where women, it was started by women, where women would save their money to buy their few things, or just save money to be able to have money. You know, it's some lending and borrowing where we put money together, we give one person, the next time we give the other person, and something like that. And this is the survival in the slums, because people don't make a lot of money and they also don't have, you know, those many savings. Channels of savings. So that is the only way that they can be able to uplift their lives. So with these chambers, you find that now we have men joining women chambers, because they're saying that the women chambers are most organized. You know, women are also very consistent. When they start something, they want to see it grow. They don't want to fail, you know, they just want to move. Like a woman, when she makes a step, she doesn't want to step back and say, you know what, I'm going back. So I think we are trying as much as possible to bring men on board. It is a challenge, and it is a change that will take time to really be complete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a very strong system, and you explained to me several times before I could really grab it, because for us this is so unusual. Again, it is about that community feeling and about taking care of each other. So I think it was weekly, every week you put money in a box, not on the bank, it's in the box somewhere. And if someone needs money, then, you know, on tour, I think it was on tour, and that's on when they had their turn, they could get the money out.
It's actually more organized than what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is probably.
These are 6 different accounts, you know, 6 different accounts. So when the woman is going into this meeting, so maybe she has only, okay, I can only talk. So you guys can organize your minds to think in terms of shillings, because that is the only way I can explain it better. So there is the money that it has to be left as you go into this meeting. So that is money number 1. That is the lending and borrowing, which is mandatory. Maybe it's something as little as 20 Kenya shillings. That is, oh God, is it 1/5 of a dollar? Mm-hmm. And then, or maybe it's as much as $1. So that one is put together and left for this person. And then we have one for development, where the women are thinking, you know what, this time we want to buy chairs, so this is what we want to buy. So they have the target, and it has to be saved every week. And then we have the normal savings, where the woman just want to save. And that's the money that is saved, is money that can be borrowed. If someone wants to borrow money, then it has to be borrowed. So people like save as much as they can, and they also return this money with the profit, and the profit is divided equally. And people who cannot borrow the money must pay the profit. So there's a targeted profit that must be paid by everyone. So there are people who are in need who can borrow so much and, you know, just return with a lot of profit, which should be divided at the end of the year. But we have people who are like, maybe they don't want to borrow money, so they just put that one in, and at the end of the year, women have money to be able to save, to take home, just to organize themselves. And then we have the fine money, where people, if you get late, you pay some fine. Definitely you're paying some fine. And we also have the loaning book. So you look at that, then we have all these small but in portions, but very organized women. So in the community, yes, the women are very, very, very organized and well planned. And I always say that I wish that our institutions, everybody, the UN, the World Bank would invest in these natural ideas that are there, as opposed to coming up with some other ideas who are not really working well for the women. At times we are too technical for the community women. So at times we disorganize them instead of organizing them. So I just wish they would just listen and say, you know what is working for them? Why can't we invest in what is working for them? Mm-hmm. Like right now, you listen to me talking everywhere. I tell them, you know what? Women in the community don't need startup loans, because the startup they use with the little that they're able to save, they need development loans. Because with their little startup loans and the businesses they do with their startup loans, they're not able to grow. And you don't invest in someone to continue, that circle of poverty. You want to invest in someone to push forward and have a better life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. It should be something. It's this concept, and I told you before, this should be something that is shared, because, for instance, here also in the Netherlands, and there's a lot of people, independent consultants, for instance, who are not being paid when they get sick. So if you are not able to work, you're not being paid. So there are already coming groups together who pay some amount in every month, so that if someone does get sick, there is some money to provide for the family. So it's getting there, but this is so strong, and it should not be big or banks or things like that. This community feeling and knowing that you are working with people that you trust is very important. Absolutely. Okay, so what we have been talking a lot about the last couple of months, Jane, is about, I see Gladys drop in, by the way. I've been talking with Gladys also I think the last month, about, she's very much an expert on microfinance in Zimbabwe, but also about, creating new opportunities to earn some extra money, for families. That's really great. But we're going back to what I wanted to share with you. We've talked a lot about how we envision the future. And of course, within the female wave of change, the last 3.5 years, and you have been part of this organization since the start, we have always been talking about how can we create a better future? How can we create a different world for the next generations, but also for already this generation? But, you're a grandmother, I'm a grandmother. We want to see our grandchildren, our children and our grandchildren, but also great-grandchildren. We want them to leave a legacy to be proud of, and not something that we feel like, oh gosh, this world that we're living in is, it's not something to be proud of. So we've been talking a lot about, COVID came, and, you hear so many people say it came and it had to happen. Something had to happen so that we had time to reflect. We had time to think about the world of what we ended up in, and to reshape the future. Now is our chance to reshape the future. If you look at the world and you want to envision a future for your children and your grandchildren, how do you envision that future?
How do I envision the future? I envision a future where people are talking and are able to learn, are ready to learn. And that is something very positive about female wave of change, because it's not just about listening to words. It's about learning from people with experience. It's about life sharing. At some point, we lost the opportunity to be able to learn from others. I was in the village, as I mentioned before, and what I noticed is that we have our senior women in the villages. Most of them are so unhappy and are living in poverty, yet they have learned. So why is that? because the young people are not ready to link up or to like just collaborate with these senior people who are, you know, they have a wealth of information, and they also have land that can be cultivated. So what if we are able to adapt these senior people, and we are able to learn from them as they use our energy, the energy we have right now, to take care of them and just to make them happy, as we use the wisdom that they have, which we can only make better. You know, we can never just start from nowhere. Everything that we are doing is a better thing of something that someone did yesterday. So if we are able to listen, if we are able to have those practical informations where we are talking about, you know what, this house was built like this, but it's going to serve us better if we are able to improve on it and have it this way, then we'll always get, you know, that better society as we are having young people coming in. But if we leave it to them to be able to just start up, you know, when are we going to start, you know, to stop starting? You know, why can't we build? Yes, we have done so well, but there's still a gap. There is still a gap. Like personally, what I think in the community, we learn more from seeing. We learn more from experience. And that is when you look at an idea that someone is already doing, and then you think of modifying it to be able to serve better. That is what I would like to see from our people. That is what I'd like to see from the young people. Can we learn from the mistakes, not just the mistakes, the successes that have been there, so that we are making these successes better or even best, as opposed to just, you know what, that is old fashioned. That is, you know, so at the end of the day, we have people who are not happy and people who are struggling to make it, as opposed to just having it flowing from one person to one person and things becoming better. That is how I look at it, Ingun.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I really agree on that. You know, we have to use the wisdom that is already there, and we have to share it. Yeah, so you are one of the global ambassadors for Female Wave of Change. Can you look at it from a global perspective? So what you really want to see happening in the world?
What I want to see happening in the world, first we have the linkages, proper linkages. And when I'm talking about linkages, I'm not just talking about knowing the name Jane and reading Jane's profile. I'm talking about listening to Jane's life. What has she achieved? You know, so we have all these wonderful women in the world. If we are able to link up, you know, we have all these platforms that are already there. These platforms at times, we listen more to the predetermined plans, as opposed to also thinking of like, what am I taking to these platforms and what am I getting out of them? What I've always done personally successfully that has worked well for me and has given me a lot of opportunities to travel wide is that when I go into a space, when I go into CSW that takes place every year in New York, then I'm looking at a space for myself so that I'm not just that drop in the ocean, but I'm able to make a small circle where I'm able to speak and be heard, and also be able to listen to someone and say that, you know what, this is what I'm taking back home. So globally, if we can look at like who inspires me, if I'm able to look at people's profile and say that, you know what, I'm going to link up with this person, and specifically this is what I want to learn from this person, then I'm sure we can all get a way of growing. In Female Wave of Change, we have women who are very successful in you know, in business, in coaching, in all these wonderful things. So it's not just about this short time that they come in online and we speak. If we are having a big meeting like we were going to South Africa the other time, is it possible for us to go deep and look at people's profile and say that, you know what, this is the person I'm going to link up with, and this is how I want to link up with them. So this is what I'm taking to the table, and this is what I'd like to harvest from this, that if I go back home, I'm able to use to better my work or even my life. You know, I tell you always, Ingun, that there are things that I really admire in your life. You know, I follow you every day. I look at Peter, I look at your girls, and there are things that I admire every day. So it's not just about your work. It's all also about your family life and how the girls relate and things like that, that inspire me. So if I'm looking at someone and I really want to learn something from them, what am I learning? So am I just going blindly and coming back and saying, you know what, I'm disappointed because like what they're having, what they presented is not what I wanted? Do I have my own organized conversation so that if I go in, I'm not just listening to them, I'm not just going for them, I'm also going for myself. That is what I'm looking at.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, on September 5 and September 26, we have these global events online. So save the date because we really want to learn from your wisdom as well. Well, I see that quite some members of our global team joined us. It's Gladys from Zimbabwe, Odeline also Zimbabwe, very well represented. It's Mami Von, of course, from South Africa, and Tanya from Slovenia. So what I would like to ask you ladies is there anyone who has a question or something to share with Jane?
Welcome, ladies. I'd like to hear from you.
Come on, ladies. Gladys, wait, you have to unmute yourself. I will do that. Yes, okay.
Gladys, kindly unmute yourself.
You're unmuted.
Okay, thank you very much, Jane and Ingun, for this interview. It's very inspiring. I just want to encourage Jane that keep on doing the work that you are doing. And I also liked the comment that you gave that even when you meet people, when you attend events, also follow them and learn a lot from their profiles, from what they are doing, so that you also improve yourself and you become a better leader. I also liked the issue of the young people collaborating with the older people. Even like here in Zimbabwe, you find that there is a very big gap. You look at our young children, they are very advanced in technology, and they can actually tell you that, Mommy, you are old-fashioned, or you're getting old. So if we are going to be able to bridge that gap, I think we are gonna leave a good legacy for our young people, our children, and the future generations. So I think also even in Female Wave of Change, the work that we are doing with the young people, I think we also need to work more on that, so that we are able to bridge that gap. We, the older people, will also learn from young people, and the young people also continue to learn the wisdom from the senior people.
Jane.
Sure. Thanks so much, Gladys. And that is very, very important. It's an agenda that I really want to take forward. And if right now we are talking about generation equality, to me, that is what we can talk about, learning to harvest from both sides. You know, we go to school more than the people, our seniors, and at times we think we know more than them. So we continue making mistakes of our generation, just the way they made mistakes of their generation, as opposed to listening to them and looking at it and saying that, you know what, we are picking from the mistakes you made and the successes you had, so that we are having a better world. Let's just link up. You know, nobody's old-fashioned. Nobody can be old-fashioned because they are present-fashioned according to their time. So why would you want someone like why would my mother be at the same level with my daughter? The world will not be the same. So let's just, at times I feel the young people, they are the ones who are primitive when they expect the people in the past to be like them. Because how would the world be? Let's accept those transitions. And they'll also be like in their present during the time when someone will be up there. So let's all learn to harvest from people. People have a lot of things that we can learn from them. We waste a lot of wisdom thinking we are civilized, yet we are so primitive.
Yeah. I love that, you know, and within the Female Wave of Change, of course, we're really working hard again, because we tried it in the beginning as well to have a youth board, and now we're almost ready to announce them. It's a really strong group of young women from all over the world, and we really want to hear their voices. You know, it is right that we, as let me talk, I, as the older generation, can learn as much from the younger one as the other way around. And it has to be about that exchange of knowledge. It's very important. Yeah. Thank you, Gladys. Anyone else? Tanya. Oh.
Hello. Thank you. Well, I would pick up, thank you, Gladys. That was one of the things. So I'll focus on the other. I loved when you said we sometimes disorganize ourselves when we try to organize. So sometimes being too smart or too well equipped on management perspective, problem coordination, we might lose the point why we get together and how to be efficient. So I like the point anyway, if you can add up with some concrete examples or good practices, how to actually keep the common sense. It could be linked to intergenerational collaboration, because it's easy to say, let's sit together and learn from each other, but then we do once and then we stop until next time. But how to do it in a way, more human way, to connect, to have time for connecting and learning from each other, and then to organize as simple as possible, just that it functions for the reason that we come together.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tanya. For us to work more sustainably, it's good to do some analysis and understand what has been done, so that we have that mark. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I work with only organized institutions. So you don't come to Polycom and to get women telling you that I'm a member of Polycom. There is no member of Polycom. You must be organized for a purpose, for us to be able to add value to what you're already doing. Whether they're organized for funerals, or they're organized for the small, the small chamas, that is how we call them in the community, or whether they're organized just to clean their compound, then they're already organized. So when they're already organized, it's easy even to measure the impact. So you can say that, these women were only organized for their own welfare, or maybe for baby showering. And then when we got in, we were able to teach them how to do this and this. And now this is the number of people who are doing this, meaning you've been able to add value to them. But what happens is that when we come in with new ideas and organize, tell people, come in, come together, because we have this idea that we want you to implement. It means that it's your own program. So when you leave, it is dead. It cannot continue. But when they're already doing something, then you are able to listen to what they're doing, and then you only add value. You only make whatever they're doing better. Then that one you can celebrate later and say that, I found them like this. This is what I managed to do with them, and now they continue doing it. Definitely you'll have people who will say that, because I only used to wash my plate without the steel wool, that thing that make it shine. And then she came and introduced this to me. So I want to see my sufuria like this throughout. So I'll continue washing it with this. And with that, you can really celebrate your impact. But when you go with your everything, it fails. I heard of a story where UNICEF went somewhere. Sorry, I'm mentioning a name, but it's okay. It's a big story out there. So they went into a community and constructed a pastoralist community and constructed toilets for them. So when they went back, they found like these toilets were stuffed with a lot of nice food stuff and everything, because they didn't have storage. Toilet wasn't a problem in their community because they lived well without those toilets, So at times it's good to have these conversations and understand the need, like, what can we make better? It will be more sustainable.
Anyone else? Odeline, anything you want to share? Or Yvonne? I know Yvonne is, she's hiding because her grandchild is there as well.
Tanya still wants to say something?
Yeah.
The hand was up. She can go ahead.
I'm sorry, for who?
Tanya's hand was up.
Oh, I think
she only clapped.
For the answer, thank you.
At least I saw it well.
No, go ahead, Odeline.
Nothing you want to share, Odeline?
Okay. I just wanted to check with Jane, how you managing in terms of resources if you want to empower the women or the young women who are struggling and who needs the help. Because in Zimbabwe, if I'm to take you through, there's so many women and so many young people who need to be empowered because they are struggling. But as much as we want to, the resources are not there.
Yeah, thanks so much, Odile. What I can say is that it can only be one step at a time. It can only be one step at a time. We cannot do everything. And that is why I say that it is important, it is easier to add value to something that is already existing. So let me say, like in our rural communities, what women do best is farming. Most of them do their own farming. So what can we talk about? We can think of like, how do we bring these women who are already farming to be able to understand that they can farm beyond just what they consume. They can go into business so that you're only handling the business aspect, but this person is actually surviving. Because when we start from zero, then we don't move, we rarely move. And by the way, each and every person, despite the situation where they are in, they are doing something about that thing, the challenge that you see. They're doing something about it. Maybe it is not just adequate. Maybe it is not just as technical as we'd like to look at it from the elite perspective, but they're doing something about it. So if we are able to identify what they're doing, then we are able to add just the list that we can add, then it works. Meaning, even if you're looking for resources, however small the resources are, you can say that, you know what, I managed to change the lives of 2 women. You know, we have had a project on food preservation for the last 3 years. If you asked me today, I can talk about less than 10 women who have adapted this well. Less than 10 women. And to me, that is a plus. Because if you have 10 women who are not going hungry because they're able to keep their food well when there's a lot of food, then that is a plus. Then maybe they're hosted. Within my statistics, I'm only talking about less than 10. Within their circles, they have their neighbors. They have people who never came for these meetings. They have people who never experienced like the training that we were giving, but they're able to learn from them. They're able to just, you know, in Africa times, we even steal ideas, you know. They look at what is working well and they say, you know what, I'm going to do it like them. So they sneak every day and see how you're doing it, because at times people are also very mean with information. They don't want to share information. So, you know, it can't be only this few that you are seeing that you're celebrating. But if it's something that is successful, then other people are seeing it as well. You know, another thing is that, another challenge that we always have is that we look for those very big changes that we want to see, that want to be very physical. It is not that, it should not be that way, because even if we are able to change the mindset, if we're able to get this community women and just say that, you know what, I'm not going to wait for someone to give me. Whatever I have can help me to change my life. Then, you know, that is a plus. They don't have to change as you're seeing them for you to be able to say that, you know what, I'm changed their life. I know Zimbabwe has its challenges, but it's also a very rich, fertile country. I've been to Zimbabwe. So how do we organize these people to use the little they have? As much as money circulation can be low, how can they just ensure that they have food on their table? And then learn to adapt the fact that we are not suffering. We are not suffering. We are doing something best for ourselves. I was lucky to visit the Baltimore in the US, and I listened to the Black community in Baltimore and the complaints and everything. We are marginalized, we are done what, you know, look at our taps and things like that. And I compared with my community, Kibera, where I only go into a house because the roof is there. We even struggle to get a door, like a door for it to be able to be there. We struggle to get water. We buy toilets. We have a government. We pay taxes. But we are still happy we are working well with what we have. So if we organize people to appreciate what they have, and then we take away that miserability, you know, where people are just miserable, then, you know, something positive is going to change. People can give us money. Yes, I get funding just in bits. We were making fun with Ingun when I was there that, you know what, I'm getting into my retirement age in those few years' time and I'm yet to get any salary, you know. But I've been working all this time, you know. So whatever resources that we are having can never be enough. Not one day. Look at those organizations that are getting millions within your community. Are they ever satisfied? Are they having that peace? So let's work better on, you know, that mindset where people are able, you know, someone comes to you where you are right now, you think you don't have money, but you find yourself getting money and giving them because they have convinced you that, you know what, I'm begging you for the first time. I want to go and start this to better the lives of my family. You pass there every day and you're like, God, I wish I had more money to add them because what they're doing is now life changing. So what I'm trying to say is that as much as we would like to look for resources, if we don't have that proper mindset, the change of mindset, then we are not getting so far.
That's wisdom. I liked it. The mindset part, you know,
Thank you.
it just tuned me to the things that we can do anything as long as the mindset is in the right form. Thank you so much. And I hope you'll be able to share with us some of your success stories in terms of projects so that we can also adopt the same in Zimbabwe and see what works for us and move on. Thank you so much for that.
I will be happy to. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Great. That's what I love to hear. I love duplication. And you know, we don't have to figure out how it works. If something works in one country, it can work in the other. So it's really great to have these connections. Yeah. I see that Gladys. Gladys, do you want to share what you've been typing? There's a lot. Gladys?
Just agreeing with what Jane was talking about the mindset that we need to appreciate what we have, because many of the times we have so many resources around us, but we don't actually see that what I have can actually take me further. So it's very important to help each other as women, that whatever you have can actually take you out of the situation. Most of the time we look outside, we say that we don't have resources, the government has not done this, my parents have not done this for me, this organization should do it for me. But you can just look at yourself, you actually have a skill that you can even use to actually help you to move on or to be in a better situation. So I just liked what Jane was just talking about, that we actually need to work on our mindsets so that we have can make miracles in our lives. Mm-hmm. So we need to look around us. What is it that I have? What is it that I can do to take myself out of the situation? To take, what is it that our community can do? What do we have in our own community? And also the spirit of gratitude, appreciating what you have, appreciating who you are. You might be thinking that you are in a problem, but if you hear another person's problem, you actually see that your problem is actually very small or insignificant. So also appreciating what you have and what you are will also help us to come out of the changes that we face in our communities and in our lives.
Absolutely.
Sure, thanks, Gladys.
Thank you for sharing. It was really amazing. So what it's a lot of other things, so people have to leave because of course we are on the hour. The thing that I wanted, and I prepared that before we started, what I would love to do is, you know, when I think of Jane and the things that we have done together, there's always music and there's always dance. And actually 2 years ago when I was in Kenya, the last day, that was Mother's Day, Sunday, and we went to the International School of Nairobi, and Jane was given an award on stage. And there was this whole group of her friends, of the women from Kibera, who were dancing and singing on stage. And I'm going to try to show it to you. I have no idea if this is going to work, but I really would like to do that. So I'm going to share my screen. And then there is this. Oh gosh, no, the video. Yeah, so I hope you still have a couple of minutes before we end this meeting. We are getting there. Oh God.
Yeah, thanks, ladies.
Okay, so it's here. And then I probably have to make it bigger. Can I do that? Oh gosh.
Maybe 5 minutes. It's not showing.
You're enjoying on your own, Ingun.
You're not seeing it? You don't see it?
No,
it's
we
not
can
on the
see
screen.
Oh, okay, wait. Oh, it should be share again.
Yeah, it has come now. Oh God, it's not clear.
Okay, well, you got the idea. I hope you did see a little bit of what I wanted to share, but you know, there was always this fun and this energy and this, you know, these women there singing and dancing, and actually the whole room was on their feet and singing together with you. So that was really fantastic. So with this, I really want to end this session and thank Jane again for all your wise lessons, because you know, you have so much to share. We want to hear more of you. We want to share more of your lessons because they are so important right now, especially in this time, you know, that we all, everywhere in the world, we feel a little bit that we are going through a similar situation at least, and we all have to figure out how to deal with it. And there's so much wisdom there. So please share more of your stories. And for now, thank you very much for all of you joining and those who are watching the recordings. I hope you learned your lessons and hope to see you in the next webinar interview. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.